I never thought something like this would happen to me. Not because I considered myself immune to temptation or anything, I'm only human, but more because I had convinced myself I was doing everything right. You know, the kind of relationship where everything feels solid, where you're both committed, and there's trust. My fiancé, Jake, and I were about to get married. We had been together for almost 3 years, and our wedding was just a couple of weeks away. Everyone around us was excited. We'd planned a big wedding, had all these details to iron out, and everything seemed perfect. So, when my best friend, Emily, suggested a girls' weekend before the big day, I didn't hesitate to say yes. She insisted it would be the perfect way to get all the nerves out before the wedding. I didn't want to be one of those brides who was stressed out and overthinking everything, so I figured a fun night out with a few drinks would help me unwind. Emily booked us a weekend getaway at a rented cabin in the mountains, but what she didn't tell me was that she invited 3 guys from her work, guys I had never met before. At first, I was a little thrown off. I'd never imagined that a girls' weekend would include random strangers, but Emily was one of those people who thrived on spontaneity and new experiences, so I went along with it. The cabin was gorgeous. It had this rustic charm, with big wooden beams and large windows that let in the golden afternoon sunlight. We had a hot tub, a fire pit, and more space than we knew what to do with. Emily had planned a lot of activities, including games and cocktails. But I'll admit, when we all started getting settled in and the drinks began flowing, I felt more and more uncomfortable with the situation. The guys were nice enough, but they were obviously flirting with us, especially me. One of them, Sam, was tall with dark hair and these intense brown eyes that made me feel a little out of place. There was a kind of intensity to him, something magnetic. I found myself laughing more with him than I intended. He had a way of talking to me that made me forget all the doubts in my head. It wasn't long before I had a bit too much to drink. By midnight, I was tipsy and feeling more relaxed. Emily and the others were off playing games, but Sam stayed close, asking me questions about myself, about Jake, about our wedding. We talked about my life, my job, my fears, and my excitement about the future. I was open with him in a way I didn't expect to be. I've been with Jake for so long, I said, feeling a little silly. And I know we're getting married soon, but sometimes I don't know, I wonder if I'm really ready for all that. I guess I'm just nervous. Is that weird? He shook his head, leaning a little closer. No, not at all. It's normal to have doubts before a big step. But sometimes, you just need to take the plunge, you know? The way he said it, so casually, but with this hint of sincerity, made me feel like I was the only person in the world who mattered. He wasn't just making small talk, he was paying attention. And at that moment, I realized I was enjoying the attention more than I should. Thanks, I said, and for some reason, I felt compelled to keep talking. Jake is great, but sometimes, I don't know, sometimes I wonder if I'm settling, like, I've never really dated anyone else, you know? Sam smiled softly, his hand brushing against mine as we sat next to each other on the couch. The touch sent a jolt through me, and I suddenly felt self-conscious. I tried to pull my hand away, but his grip tightened just slightly, enough to make me pause. You should never settle for something less than amazing, he said, his voice low and serious. But you have to decide what amazing means for you. Everyone's definition is different. I swallowed hard, trying to remind myself I was engaged. But as I looked into his eyes, all I could think was how badly I wanted to feel wanted, desired. The conversation shifted, and somehow, in that haze of alcohol and attraction, I found myself leaning in a little too close to him. Sam, I started, but my voice faltered. Was I really about to do this? Was I really going to kiss him? Just as I was about to move, I heard a door open behind us. Emily stepped in, laughing and holding up a bottle of wine, looking tipsy herself. Hey, what's going on in here? You two are getting cozy? She said, her tone playful. I quickly pulled back, feeling embarrassed. Nothing. Just talking? Sure, she said, not missing the tension in the air. She gave me a knowing smile before walking back out to the group, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I didn't kiss Sam that night, but I could feel the pull between us. The next morning, everything felt like it had shifted. Sam had this way of looking at me that made my heart race, and I couldn't stop thinking about the moment we almost kissed. But here's the thing, I still loved Jake. I still wanted to marry him. Or at least, I thought I did. The next day was awkward. I kept finding myself avoiding Sam, not because I was disgusted or ashamed, but because I wasn't sure how to handle the pull between us. I felt guilty for even thinking about it. The whole situation felt wrong, but I couldn't deny that something had shifted inside me. When we all gathered for breakfast, I barely made eye contact with Sam. He seemed to pick up on it, though, and I saw him looking at me a few times, like he was trying to read me. Emily noticed the tension too. "Are you okay?" she asked as we were cleaning up after breakfast. She pulled me aside, her eyes narrowing in that way that only best friends can do when they know something's up. "I'm fine," I said a little too quickly. "Just hungover." But Emily didn't buy it. "Look, I'm not stupid. You and Sam were close last night. Did something happen?" She raised an eyebrow at me, and I felt my heart rate spike. I hesitated, not sure how to explain myself. "It's nothing, really. We were just talking." Emily crossed her arms, unconvinced. "You're not just talking. I saw the way you two were looking at each other. Are you sure you're okay with Jake? I mean, it's normal to have doubts before a wedding, but you can't keep pretending everything's fine if it's not." I felt a wave of irritation surge through me, but I also knew Emily was right. She could always see through me, and I hated that. She was right to ask, but at the same time, I wasn't ready to admit to myself what was happening. Not yet. "I'm just confused," I said finally, letting my guard down just a little. "I love Jake, I do. But Sam, I don't know. There's something about him, he's different." Emily's expression softened. "It's okay to feel that way, you know. You're not the first person to question their relationship before getting married. But, seriously, don't make any rash decisions. You need to figure out what you want, not just what feels good in the moment." I nodded, my mind racing. What was I even doing? Why was I letting this go so far? I loved Jake. He had been so supportive, so caring. I trusted him, and he trusted me. How could I risk all of that for a guy I'd just met? But the more I tried to push it away, the more I couldn't stop thinking about Sam. Later that night, things took another turn. We were all sitting outside around the fire pit, laughing and joking, trying to keep the mood light. But the moment Sam walked over to sit next to me, everything shifted again. The air seemed to thicken, and I found it harder to breathe. I couldn't stop myself from glancing at him, feeling that electric pull that had started to make my stomach twist. He sat down beside me, a little closer than before. "I've been thinking about you all day," he said, his voice low, almost like a whisper. "You're not like the other women I've met. There's something real about you. Something raw." I swallowed, trying to play it cool, but inside I was trembling. I had no idea why I was letting him get under my skin like this. Jake was the one I was supposed to be thinking about, not some stranger. But the more Sam spoke, the more my thoughts spun out of control. "Sam," I started, my voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know if this is a good idea." But Sam didn't pull back. Instead, he moved just a little closer, so our knees were almost touching. "I get it," he said, his voice smooth and comforting. "You're confused. But I can't stop thinking about you, Kelly. I'm not trying to pressure you, I think we have something." His words sent a wave of heat through me, and for a moment, I couldn't think straight. The space between us felt charged, like everything in the world had narrowed down to that one moment. And before I knew it, I was leaning in, his lips meeting mine, in a kiss that took me completely by surprise. It wasn't like one of those passionate, movie-worthy kisses. It was slow, deliberate, like he was savoring every second. The world outside of us didn't exist anymore. My heart was racing, and I couldn't believe what I was doing, but I didn't want it to stop. And then, just as quickly as it had started, I pulled back, my head spinning. I couldn't look at him. I couldn't even look at myself. "I'm sorry," I whispered, standing up and stumbling back a few steps. "This is wrong. I'm engaged. I can't." Sam stood up too, his face soft with understanding, but there was something else in his eyes, something darker. "I know," he said quietly. "But you're not just engaged, Kelly. There's a part of you that wants something more. And that's okay. You don't have to hide it." I couldn't find the words to respond. What was I supposed to say? He was right. There was a part of me that wanted more. But was it worth risking everything for it? I didn't know. That night, I went to bed feeling like I was suffocating. I couldn't stop thinking about the kiss. I couldn't stop thinking about Sam. The more I tried to shut it out, the louder the thoughts became. And as much as I hated myself for it, I knew one thing for sure: this wasn't just some random mistake. There was something real between me and Sam, and it was only getting harder to deny. The worst part. I still loved Jake. Or at least, I thought I did. But how could I love him if I was willing to betray him so easily? How could I walk down the aisle to marry him, knowing I had kissed another man? The guilt gnawed at me, but the desire for Sam lingered, too. And that's where everything got blurry. I had made a choice. The morning after felt like a haze, but in the way that a storm might feel after it's passed. A quiet before the chaos. I had no idea how to face Sam, or what to think about what had happened. The kiss, the passion. It wasn't just a fleeting moment. I could feel it in my veins, like I had opened a door I couldn't close, and the emotions swirling inside me were out of control. I wasn't just guilty. I was lost. I woke up in the guest bedroom, tangled in blankets, alone. The sun was just beginning to creep through the large windows of the cabin, and for a few minutes, I let myself breathe. But then it hit me again, the weight of what I had done. I had crossed a line with Sam, a line I couldn't uncross. I had kissed him. I had let myself fall into it, and I knew, deep down, that what I felt for Sam wasn't just a mistake. It was real, and that terrified me more than anything. I stayed in the bedroom for a while, trying to pull myself together. But when I finally stepped out, I saw Sam in the kitchen. He was making coffee, his back to me, the sunlight catching the dark waves of his hair. He looked so effortlessly perfect, and it made my heart skip. He turned when he heard me approach, a soft smile on his face. "Morning," he said quietly, almost too casually. But his eyes said something else. They were burning with an intensity that made me feel like he was seeing right through me. "Morning," I managed to say, my voice hoarse. I couldn't meet his eyes for long. We stood there for a few seconds, both of us unsure how to proceed. The night before still felt like a blur, but it was all there. Our kiss, the way we had tangled together in a rush of emotion. I hadn't meant for it to happen, but somehow, it did, and I didn't regret it. Not entirely. "I don't know how to do this," I whispered, more to myself than to him. I can't keep doing this." Sam stepped closer, his hand brushing mine in that familiar way. It felt like I couldn't breathe with him so close, but I didn't pull away. I couldn't. "You're not the only one who's confused, Kelly," he said softly, his voice low and serious. "But I don't regret it. Not for a second. And I don't think you do, either." I opened my mouth to argue, to say something about Jake, about what this meant for my relationship, but Sam put a finger to my lips, silencing me. "You don't have to say anything. Not yet. Just know that we both know what's happening here." The room was so quiet, I could hear my own heartbeat, thudding in my chest. "I can't just forget about Jake," I said, almost pleading. "He's my fiancé. I love him." But even as I said it, I knew that I was lying. I wasn't sure what love meant anymore, not after everything that had happened with Sam. Sam's eyes softened, but there was a fire there too. "I get it," he said. "But you can't keep pretending either, Kelly. What happened between us? It's real. You feel it, too. And you don't have to be ashamed of it." I was about to say something, but then I heard the door slam open. My heart lurched in my chest as I turned around, and there, standing in the doorway, was Jake. His eyes were wide, bloodshot, and full of confusion, but more than that, anger. The room froze. "What the hell is going on here?" Jake's voice cracked as he stormed into the room, his face red, fists clenched at his sides. I couldn't breathe. The reality of the moment hit me like a punch in the gut. I stood there, frozen, unsure of what to do, what to say. The words caught in my throat, and all I could do was stare at Jake. He was the last person I wanted to face in that moment. But there he was, looking like a man who had just been slapped in the face. You're kidding, right?" Jake's voice trembled with disbelief. "I come up here to surprise you, to spend some time with you before the wedding, and this is what I find. You're with him." He pointed at Sam, his face twisted in rage. Sam didn't flinch, but I could see the muscles in his jaw tighten. He stood his ground, his posture firm. "Jake, it's not what you think," he said, his voice steady, almost too calm for the situation. But Jake wasn't having any of it. "Not what I think? Not what I think? You think I'm an idiot? I thought we were friends. I thought... God, I don't even know what to think right now." I wanted to speak, to apologize, to explain, but no words came out. I couldn't find the strength to say anything, to explain the mess I had gotten myself into. Instead, I watched as Jake's fury unfolded in front of me. His eyes were burning with betrayal and rage, and it was so painful to see. I could feel the tears welling up, but I couldn't let them fall. Not in front of him. "Kelly," Jake said, his voice now low and broken. "You're about to marry me. You're supposed to be mine. And this is what you do. His eyes darted between Sam and me. What the hell, Kelly? Tell me it's not true. I opened my mouth to speak, but again, the words wouldn't come. How could I justify it? How could I explain that I had let myself get lost in the moment with Sam, that I had crossed a line I couldn't undo? There was no way to make this right. Jake's chest heaved, and his face twisted with hurt. So, what? You've been cheating on me. With him. His voice rose again, cracking with emotion. Sam stepped forward, raising his hand, trying to keep the peace. Jake, this isn't helping. I'm not the enemy here. But what happened with Kelly? Jake cut him off, his voice sharp like a knife. Shut up. This is between me and her, not you. I had never seen Jake like this before. Angry, devastated, furious. It was like all the calmness I had known in him had disappeared in an instant. The man I thought I knew was gone, replaced by someone who felt like a stranger. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I stepped forward, my voice shaky. Jake, I never meant for this to happen. I messed up. I didn't plan any of this, I swear. But it's real. What happened between Sam and me, it's real. And I don't know what that means for us anymore. The silence that followed was deafening. Jake's face crumpled as the weight of my words hit him. He shook his head, as if trying to reject everything I had said. How long, Kelly? How long has this been going on? My chest tightened. I had no more excuses, no more lies. It was all out in the open now. Sam and I had crossed a line, and the truth was I wasn't sure what to do next. My heart was torn, and I could see the devastation in Jake's eyes. I had ruined everything. And now, there was no turning back. Jake's eyes searched mine, as if waiting for something. But all I could do was stand there, unable to give him the answer he needed. The man I was about to marry had just walked in on me with another man, and I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't even know if I wanted to. The drive home was silent. I had hoped there would be some kind of conversation, some kind of attempt at understanding or reconciliation, but it never came. The air in the car felt suffocating, heavy with unspoken words. I sat in the passenger seat, eyes staring out the window, trying to keep the tears at bay. I could feel the weight of Jake's anger next to me, like a storm waiting to erupt. He hadn't said a word since the confrontation at the cabin, but I could feel the tension between us, thick and suffocating. The drive felt endless, and the closer we got to home, the harder it became to breathe. I kept telling myself that maybe it wasn't too late, that maybe Jake would forgive me, that we could fix this. But deep down, I knew that what I had done was unforgivable. I had shattered everything. I had broken the trust we had built over the years, and there was no going back. When we finally reached our apartment, Jake didn't say anything as he pulled into the parking spot. He parked the car, got out without looking at me, and slammed the door behind him. I stayed in the car for a few moments longer, hoping he would come back, that he would at least say something. But he didn't. The silence was deafening. I climbed out of the car and followed him inside, my heart pounding in my chest. He was already in the living room, his back to me as he started to gather his things. He wasn't speaking, just moving quickly and methodically, grabbing clothes from the closet, shoving them into a duffel bag. His movements were sharp, angry, like he couldn't wait to leave. Jake, I said, my voice trembling. Please, we need to talk. Let's just talk about this. We can figure it out. He froze for a moment, but didn't turn around. There's nothing to talk about, Kelly, he said, his voice tight and controlled. You've made your choice. His words hit me like a punch to the gut. I didn't want to believe it, but I could see it in the way his shoulders were hunched, the way he moved around the apartment like he couldn't stand being in the same space as me. He was done. I didn't mean for this to happen. I pleaded, taking a step toward him. Jake, I love you. I swear I do. I made a huge mistake. Please don't leave me. Jake let out a bitter laugh, a harsh sound that echoed in the room. He turned around slowly, his eyes cold, almost hollow. Love me. He repeated, the words laced with pain and disbelief. Is that what you call this? What you did with him? Is that love? I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. I stammered, my mind racing. I was confused, and Sam. He made me feel something I didn't know I needed. But Jake, it's you I want. It's always been you. Jake's face twisted with a mix of anger and hurt. No, Kelly. I was never enough for you, was I? His voice cracked, and for a moment, I saw the broken man he had become. The person who had trusted me, who had loved me with everything he had. And I had betrayed him. You've been lying to me, lying to yourself. You've been cheating on me for who knows how long, and now you want to act like it was just a mistake. Like I'm supposed to forgive you because you're sorry? I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. The guilt crushed me, and all I could do was stand there, staring at him, watching him destroy everything we had built together. Jake's eyes softened for just a second, but it wasn't enough to soften the pain in his voice. You should have thought about this before. Before you kissed him. Before you let this happen. You had every opportunity to stop, Kelly. But you didn't, and now you're telling me you love me. He shook his head, a bitter smile playing at the edges of his lips. No. I'm done. I reached out for him, desperate. Jake. Please. But he pulled away, his face hardening. I'm done, Kelly. I'm done. Don't try to make this about you anymore. I can't do this. I can't forgive you. You've hurt me too much. I stood there, stunned, as he zipped up the duffel bag, grabbing his wallet and phone from the counter. He didn't even look back as he walked toward the door. You ruined this. And now you have to live with it. The door slammed behind him, and for a long time, I just stood there. The sound of the door closing felt final. There was no coming back from this. No apology was going to undo what I had done. I sank to my knees, the weight of everything crashing down on me. I had lost him. I had lost Jake. I had lost everything. I couldn't even make sense of what had happened anymore, of how I had let myself fall into Sam's arms, how I had let it go so far. All I could see now was the wreckage of my choices, the shattered relationship, the broken trust. And then, as if on autopilot, I reached for my phone, almost as if I was looking for some kind of escape. I texted Sam, my fingers shaking as I typed the words. I don't know what I've done, but I need to talk to you. I hit send, but a part of me knew it was too late. Sam had been a mistake. He was the consequence of me not being strong enough to hold on to what mattered. And Jake. He was the one I had betrayed. The one who had loved me the whole time. The reality of it hit me like a wave, and I realized something. There was no easy way to undo this. No quick fix. I had made my bed, and now I had to lie in it, alone. It wasn't long before the apartment felt cold, empty. The silence was louder than any fight or scream, and in the emptiness, I finally realized the weight of everything I had thrown away. Sam didn't respond to my text. Jake was gone, and I was left alone with the wreckage.